Hello, thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm gonna sip some of this Fiji water real quick, because I'm a little parched. But one thing I want to say is it's so interesting coming to this farm. It's like I've noticed every time I came here, I always leave a little bit more charged. Like my energy's a little bit higher, a little bit higher. And I'm a strong believer in like things appear for us when we're ready for it, right? So it's almost like we have these teachers that come into our lives, but it's like they say when the student's there, the master appears, And so it's so interesting how it's like, I'm so glad that Anto didn't come into my life back when I was like 21, 22. You know what I'm saying? Because I would have probably asked, hey, what's the lottery numbers? Like I probably would have been different with it. And I've had quite a bit of experiences that led up to that. So, I mean, many of you guys know my story, but I'm gonna reshare it now. I was in Iowa, West Des Moines. Who's heard of West Des Moines, Iowa? Who's heard of Iowa? Some people? Okay, cool. Everyone's heard of Iowa, but West Des Moines is like a fraction. Yeah, okay, you know it. Okay. So I was out there and I had a bit of a spiritual awakening. I sat in the cornfield and I'm just like, God, if you're real, show me some type of proof. Like who are you? What is it? Because growing up, my family, my mother was, Jehovah's Witness, right? Growing up. And then my father was Baptist Christian. And so they dated for a little bit, didn't really last long, but I came from it, which was, blessing, I think at least. And so religion was always a thing for me that was like, I don't want to hear about it. I'm kind of on a fence, so I don't really want to go into it. But I definitely wanted that connection with God. I wanted a connection with the divine. So what I do is I go into a cornfield. I sit there and I say, okay, God, you're real. Please show me some type of proof. I need some type of sign. So I sat there for 30 minutes expecting to see like Mufasa in the sky, right? Like expecting some kind of sign or anything like that at all. Nothing happened. But after I said that, I started walking to my apartment and then my uncle in Seattle, Washington reached out to me. And he's just like, hey, I just feel inspired to tell you that God loves you and he's glad you're back in his life. And it was a Facebook message from Seattle. I hadn't talked to him in like 5 years. So I'm like, okay, this is pretty interesting. And then so from that, all of these synchronicities started to happen. All these random synchronicities, all these things started to happen. And like 11 everywhere, all these 1 to 3 numbers. And I'm like, okay, I see the things happening. What am I really meant to do? Like, where is this going? Where are you taking this, right? And I started thinking, I'm like, it would be really cool if I can be like some type of speaker, some type of motivator. And I started posting stuff on Twitter, just posting positive stuff on Twitter. I get reached out to by a lady. She reaches out to me and she's like, I love what you post, the positive message you send. I love to meet you in person. I go to meet her in person and it turns out that she worked for Dr. Ben Carson, right? Who was running for president at the time. And my immediate thoughts was like, okay, I'm not the most political guy, but I'm willing to, check this out, just get to know him, right? So she introduces me to him. So I meet Dr. Ben Carson, talk to him in person. And then after that, we reconnect later on. And she's like, hey, Alan, tonight at the Iowa caucuses, we need a speaker. And I'm like, speaker, why are you calling me about it? Because I've never given a real public speech before. I was like, why are you calling me? And she's like, well, we would love for you to be our speaker at the Iowa caucus. So I show up to the Iowa caucus. She forgets to tell me that there had to be 500 to 700 people in the audience. It was a packed house going way back, right? And I'm like, okay, I didn't really prep much. I'm just kind of going off of just what I know, just a couple of notes I wrote right before. She also forgets to tell me that like everyone's standing there, then everyone looks at this door. And I'm like, who's this person walking in, right? Donald Trump's walking in with like a whole paparazzi around him. And he's my opponent for this speech. So I'm like, I don't got a paparazzi, like I ain't got all of that. And so pretty much she didn't tell me that I was gonna be speaking against Donald Trump representing Dr. Ben Carson at the Iowa caucuses. And so I'm thinking to myself, I was like, okay, because I saw him off, celebrity shows and stuff like that. But okay, he's gonna tell me I'm fired probably. I don't know, it's a show. And he goes first and he gets up there talking about, make America great again. We don't win wars and all of this stuff, yada, 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 yada. And I had an insight. This might even, honestly, now that I reflect on it, this might have even been a collaboration with Anto, but I just didn't know what was happening. This is my first time giving like my actual experience of what happened. I literally walked up to the stage. I opened my mouth, I blacked out, and then I woke up and everyone was just clapping really loud. That's like what happened for me, right? So afterwards, I'm like, how did I do? Like I was kind of just like, just kind of just went to like a daydream. And they were like, it was amazing and all of this stuff. And what I spoke about was the way we make this country great again is by loving each other, right? If people took the time to love their neighbors the way they love themselves, that's what will unite the country, right? We might even become one nation under God if we take the time to really connect on a deep, vulnerable level. So I went on a walk today. It was raining outside. I decided to go on just a random rain walk. And an insight came to me for today's talk. And what I'm going to talk about is 3 reasons why people don't connect. Now, these are 3 things that I observe why most people don't connect with one another. Okay? Uh-oh, Jake's coming here. We will allow some more people coming.
You'll have to add in the part about
Yeah, exactly. Hey. Perfect timing, perfect timing. When I gave my TED Talk, a lot of these same people were there. You know, they come in from out of town. Hey, Sky, how you doing, lovely? Oh, it's all good. Hi, Becky. Hello, feel free to have a seat. Feel free to have a seat. Yes.
No, it's
Hello.
just, it just opens. It's, I mean, it doesn't
Free to have a
close.
seat.
Is this so? No. Is this your seat? No, go ahead. Are there more chairs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool beans. You guys, perfect time, like literally perfect time. I was just about to start the talk.
We're on angel timing.
What's that?
We're on angel timing.
Angel timing.
You can just sit over there.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, there's fine. Okay, cool. So just what I was going to go into is 3 reasons why people don't connect with one another on a planetary level, what I've observed at least, okay? So the first reason is connection requires vulnerability. True connection requires vulnerability. A lot of people, they feel like when they're talking to somebody, they're building a relationship with them. Like, oh, just because I'm talking to them, I'm connecting with them. That's not actually true. You may be talking, we've all talked with someone for like 30 minutes and we just felt like we just don't feel anything with them. We don't really feel a connection. There's not really a strong anything there. That's because connections you don't connect with people when they're vulnerable with you. You connect with people when you're vulnerable with them. A lot of times we feel isolated, we feel alone. We're wondering like, why do I feel so empty inside? It's because we're not actually showing up in our life to other people. We're giving them the facade or the mask or whatever it is. And the mask, since it's not us, we don't feel a connection when people connect with our mask. You know, people connect with our mask all day, but we still kind of feel like, yeah, they're just an okay friend. It's our best friend that we can truly be ourselves with, that we can just let our hair down, that we can just go crazy, party, whatever with. You know, it's our really close friends, and we call them that because we've opened our heart to them. So with that being said, hello, J-Ma. Hello. With that being said, connection requires vulnerability, and a lot of people on our planet are not being as vulnerable as we could be. But that's slowly changing. I would even say rapidly changing from my experience, okay? The second reason why people don't connect is that vulnerability reminds some people of pain. We remember things with our mind, but we also remember things with our emotional body. So if we do things that, say for example, right, I'll give an example, my example, okay? About 3-4 years ago, so I was driving and my car got hit from the left side, right? They hit the front of my car, I walked away perfectly okay, right? And for the next years, every time I would drive, whenever I go to cross an intersection, I would always look to the left. You know, I would look to the left, make sure no one's there. People behind me honk, I'm like, wait, I'm gonna wait and then go, right? So that's a little elementary example, but sometimes we get into like a new relationship or a new connection or a new friendship, something like that, and we start to get vulnerable, but immediately we remember the pain of the last time we was vulnerable, and so we tend to close sometimes, okay? So what's important to understand is that when we have those vulnerable moments and we have those pain that comes up, the pain is coming up because it wants to be healed. That's why it comes up. The thing about truth is that truth is weightless. So if you put it underwater, under anything, it floats to the top. Now, when we quiet our mind and we wake up in the morning, we tend to have things like, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, right? That's because our truth, our insight is always there within us. Truth doesn't really change much when it's about a particular thing. It only evolves, right? We want to know how to get to step 10, but we won't even do the things to get to step 2. And you go through each step through patterns of authenticity. You want to evolve to your next ascended self? Be vulnerable, be truthful with who you are today. You can't avoid it. You know, there's people that say, oh, I got 20 years experience, 30 years experience, or whatever it is, but they haven't really opened up, they haven't been vulnerable, so really they have 1 year experience repeated 20 times. Because evolution happens with the vulnerability and the opening up, okay? Then the third and final reason that why a lot of people on our planet don't connect, is that consciously or subconsciously, people will do whatever they can to never feel that pain again. If we've had something that happened to us in the past and we do something that requires us being vulnerable, we'll tend to avoid it at all costs, right? We'll tend to, I don't want to do that, you know? So therefore, a lot of us, instead of embracing our future, we're avoiding a past event that happened. And by avoiding a past event that happened, we're actually putting it into our future because we keep focusing on it. You know, we're all spiritual here. We know where our focus goes. Energy flows. Yeah, exactly. Right? So think about it. If you're driving in a car and you notice how you got that little rearview mirror right there and you got your regular window in the front, you know why the regular window in the front is so big and that little mirror is so small? Because you're not supposed to spend that much time looking back. No, that's just there to check it. You can look back every once in a while. You can check it, but don't just live back there. Otherwise, you're gonna crash with what's ahead of you. So it's important that we do that we take the time to really connect with ourselves, trust that our vulnerability is our strength, and then share that vulnerability with others. That's what it is. Trust yourself, trust your vulnerability as strength, and then share it with others. Because when you share it with others, you stand before them naked as who you truly are. And once you can see how accepted you are for who you truly are, then it's like, oh my goodness, I guess it isn't really that bad. You know, I've taken my diary. I don't have a diary. I just post it on Facebook. I just tell everybody. I mean, y'all see my stuff. I just put everything out there. You know, I go in there, I post, I just tell, because anything, for me, anything that I feel like I don't want the world to know, I'm gonna tell the world it. Why? Because nobody can hurt me. And if somebody can hurt me, that's not responsibility. It's my responsibility to make sure that I do the healing inside, to make sure that nothing else can affect me. You know, I'm creating this seminar for young men. And it's young men seminars for teenage boys, helping them with their confidence, responsibility, emotional intelligence, right? And my opening line is, I'm not trying to toughen you up. I'm teaching you how to become indestructible. Indestructibility is a beingness that says there is nothing that can happen to me, anyone can say to me that will affect my emotional core, because I am centered, sovereign within myself, and nobody can affect that. And if somebody does affect that, I'm excited because I have a new thing to heal. Because if it happens again, I'll be fine. Whenever you have a trigger, that is something that wants to heal, something that wants to come out. That's the path of your indestructibility. We love the people that's easy to be around, right? The people that's easy around, we love them. But the people that trigger us, I don't want to be around this person. But then we manifest another person that triggers us. Then we manifest another person that triggers us. Do we keep changing people, or we just lose the trigger? Because that trigger is blocking us from loving others.